The scenario to be played is Destruction. It has a 12x6 rectangle placed in the middle of the board. It has the kill box in effect. You will then also place 2 objectives on opposite corners. You get 1 point for destroying or removing from play your opponent's objective. You get 1 control point for controlling the zone and 2 for dominating. First person to 5 points wins the game. Alright, after looking at his 2 lists for Cygnar, I tried to figure out which list would be the better option, and I felt that the Makeda and the Exalted Court would give me the better option against Cygnar. It had a little bit more speed, I thought, and a little more resilience to weapons fire. So this list has Makeda, of course, with the Exalted Court, Molik Karn, Bronzeback, a Brute, a Savage, a second Savage, mostly just for the speed. The Brute's in there for a defense. Then I have a Krea and a Drake. The Krea is more for defense. The Drake is more for anti-infantry. And then I have 2 min units of Beast Handlers, mostly because I have quite a few beasts. That way it helps me to manage my fury. Then I have an Extoller for magical weapons and eyeless sight, and a Willbreaker to help extend the range, and Puppet Master. My objective for this one is Bunker.
As Fort here, my first foray into Warmachine is going to be with the Cygnar army, these 2 lists. Both Haleys, I know. It's all I really have painted up enough to play. Against Pokey, I'm going to take Captain Victoria Hale. I think Temporal Berry is a really good drop against Hordes armies. I got Victor Pendrake in here too to help out with the Stormblades shooting at beasts. Got a Dynamo, unit of Black 13th, unit of Stormblades, full loadout with 3 weapon attachments. A unit of Arcane Tempest Gun Mages with the Officer. A max unit of Tempest Blazers. Tactical Arcanist Core in there just because I got them painted. Plus I like the clouds to give Haley a little bit of cover. Or a little bit of concealment, I guess. Lady Aiyana and Holt and Victor Pendrake round out the list. Pendrake's in there because this is going to be my Hordes drop for this tournament, and he really helps the Storm Gunners and Stormblades shoot much more accurately. Not that they need that much against Skorne, but it's there for Legion mainly in Circle. The Effigy of Valor is my objective because of the cover mainly, but it makes my guys immune to fear. I'm going to start out with the murder ponies on my far left on the bottom of the screen. The camera's cutting them off, so they're probably not going to be seen until the very end. When I try to swing them around his flank, I'm going to try to run them straight down the board edge and then try to get into a support with them. Then I'm just going to line up the Stormblades to avoid the wall and get near the other objective. Put the support in the middle of the army with the gun mages on my far right. Dynamo kind of bringing up the rear. I'm not going to commit Dynamo to the fight really early. And that's pretty much the plan.
Deployment on this is very straightforward. I went ahead and deployed Makeda in the center, trying to make sure she can get to the zone. The trees right there are kind of a pain. You need to work around the trees. Without any Pathfinder, it kind of makes it hard to navigate. So I put Molik Karn up on the outside because he is speed 6, so he's quite fast, or can be quite fast. Same thing for the Savage. They both being speed 6, they can pretty much get around the table pretty quick. I left the Bronzeback relatively close and out in the open, so it would have an easier time moving forward without having to worry about needing Pathfinder. Then of course all the support models were placed in the backfield as backup.
Well, Pokey doesn't have a gladiator over there, so he's going to have trouble with that forest and that puddle of water. I'm going to kind of try to use that to channel his army. I'm going to run the murder ponies down here along the bottom edge. You can't see them because the camera's cutting them off, but they're all 5 just past that wall that's sticking out from the middle of the board there, from the middle of the bottom. Put the black 13th over here in the wood so they can take advantage of Prowl. He doesn't have hardly any shooting in his army, but he's got a Drake, and the Drake is dangerous. It just doesn't have the range to do anything on turn 1. I'm going to run the... I'm going to run my entire army forward, basically. I'm not going to do any kind of buffing or anything. Going to get all the Stormblades with their gunners and everything lined up to do an assault shot, or maybe just shooting on the next turn. Put Pendrake up behind them so I don't have to use Haley's spells to boost their shooting. Put the gun mages... I'd like to get them up in front of that building. That obstruction is a pain in the butt where it is. And these little dwarfs with their short little feet don't run so fast. 8 inches up is about all they can get. But I need them as far forward as they can be so they can drop clouds in front of Haley so they can't see Haley to shoot at her. Maybe or maybe not. I don't know if I'll be able to get them to there. Aiyana and Holt are going to follow up. Try to get some brutal shots off from my gun mages with the 3 dice from Haley's shooting buff, Deadeye. That's the plan, at least. And then I forgot to assign focus to the Dynamo, so he's going to walk up. That's my first turn.
Alright, this is going to be a typical first turn. Just trying to get everything across the table as fast as possible. Start with the Savage. He runs, and I try to tuck him in to where he's kind of behind the objective, hoping to use that to help shield him a little bit from the gun mages. Then I activate Molik Karn. He does 2 for Fate Walker on himself. And then I measured my control area to make sure he didn't move, don't move too far out. Then I have him charge and fail the charge on one of the gun mages. Helps give him additional 3 inches on his movement forward. Then I activate the Bronzeback. He runs forward. Being the slowest one in my group, he was kind of the easiest one to move forward. Straight line forward. Then the Drake moved forward. He ran. I did have more distance, but I didn't really want to put him too far forward because I knew the Krea was coming up, and I wanted to make sure she was going to be within 2 inches for Paralytic Aura, because he did have a lot of ranged attacks in his list. So that's right there. I was hoping that I had both the Bronzeback and the Drake both inside of the Paralytic Aura. Then the Savage ran forward to also be inside the Paralytic Aura and also kind of have him where I need him to be. Cygnar is probably one of the harder factions to face up against for me for Skorne. They tend to have a lot more shooting, which means I have to, for my typical list builds, I have to weather a lot of shooting to get in. So the Krea is really helpful for that. So is the Brute. I just activated Makeda. She put up Vortex of Destruction and then advanced. I activate the Brute. He then puts up Safeguard on Makeda herself and advances into the forest. The blue beast handlers advance, keeping in command range, and start helping to pull Fury. The Willbreaker then runs up, gets into the forest, anything to help with the extra defense. Then the Extoller runs forward, getting into the Paralytic Aura area, Paralytic Aura bubble. The White Beast Handlers activate, they advance, they help remove more Fury to making it to where it's more manageable on my next turn. And then I go and almost forget Fate Walker, so I move Molik Karn over into the forest.
Well, he's got his army fairly far forward. A lot of this stuff is in range to be shot at, but the Krea is covering the really juicy target that I want to shoot. I need to shoot that Drake off the table, but I just don't think I can. Armor, defense 15, armor 18 under that, the Krea's Animus is really hard to deal with. So I'm just going to try to take that Savage, the Cyclops Savage is behind his objective off the table and see what happens. These Stormblades and the Storm Gunners, they actually hit very hard when they get to do the Alpha, and under Haley they're likely to get to do the Alpha because of temporal acceleration. His army can't charge me, can't run at me, so there's not really any jamming, although his army doesn't really have a lot of jam. It means that I'm going to likely get the Alpha off on his guys as long as I don't screw it up somehow. So, you know, PAL 15s with their swords and PAL 14 shooting with the assault shot is enough. With enough of these guys, they can take that Bronzeback off the table fairly easily. I'd like to get Karn too, but I don't think he's going to give me both of them. He might give me one. Karn's stuck up back in the woods and pretty far away, so I don't. And he can. And again, remember that he can't charge, so he's not gonna. He doesn't have a big threat range where he's sitting, as long as I don't give him anything to sidestep off of. I think the no Gladiator is a mistake in that army, especially with the terrain that we ran into. I mean, of course, he couldn't predict the terrain. Stormblades, Storm Gunner shot a little bit, didn't do a whole lot. Haley's gonna drop Deadeye on the gun mages, the ATGM. Every time I see that, I think anti-tank guided missile. Must be my military background. Getting everything out of the way to get a landing spot for the Dynamo and the ATGM to move up. Just want them to tow the zone. They got plenty of range to shoot the Savage, and I think they're fairly safe except for from spray from the Basilisk. But the Basilisk he has to boost to hit all these guys. If he does hit them, he's going to kill them. So he's likely to kill 3 things in his turn just because he's likely to hit them, but not much else. He'd have to get lucky to hit anything else. I had planned to bounce him back into the woods there with the thunder shots, and just with the defense 15, just decided it was too much, too hard to hit him. I guess I could have shot the Krea until I pushed the Krea out of the way, and then shot the Drake kind of at will then. But once he gets into the woods, it slows him down a lot. He pushes a half distance, and he gets that +2 defense again. So instead, I decided to take the Savage off the table. And he's almost gone. He's very close to it. We'll see. The murder ponies, I guess I'm going to try to move them around, still continuing to try to get that flank to get into his support and to get into his backfield. Yep, there goes the Savage. Haley, I think, is really good with these murder ponies because she slows the other guy's army down so slow that they don't make contact with your army until what would normally be a turn or 2 later than they should. And lets the murder ponies run around their back and get into their support that they're trying to protect. The Black 13th, I would like to have Ryan drop a cloud out there, but I have to kind of rely on drifts. I'd shoot at something like Karn and hope it drifted right back into the very front of my lines, right in front of Haley. So it's not likely. I'm not even going to bother to try. I'm just going to try to shoot these this beast handler that's stuck out here. They're in range to do a brutal shot, so I should probably do that. He's going to shield guard, I'm sure, with that immortal bodyguard. The Exalted Court, I believe they're called. Yep, we got him. I guess the murder ponies are going to go and try to kill that, maybe, and one other. Not sure if I have the range for it. You can't see the murder ponies. They're down below where the camera's pointed, but they're hugging the board edge. Tactical Arcanist core. They can actually shoot fairly far. I like their little AOEs. It's crit fire. I wish it was continuous fire. That would be awesome. Might be a little too good, but I mean, I could use Pendrake on them if I really wanted to try to set something on fire. He would get boosted damage on beasts, or an additional die on beasts, I guess. Yeah, they're drifting all over the place, not hitting anything. I'm going to drop a cloud, I think, in front of Haley. I'm not sure what it's going to do. It really can't stop. I mean, the Drake doesn't care about it because of it's a spray, and it can't block line of sight because it's, you know, it's not far enough out the field to not give him a target to shoot at. Dynamo will run up over the wall there. I was silly and forgot to allocate focus on turn 1, and I'm paying for it because I'd really like to have gotten a couple of shots into something with him. He actually hits really hard. Let's see. Here comes the murder ponies. I'm going to try to get this guy into the middle of the board to make him have to deal with him with something. Probably be the Bronzeback or the Savage that's behind the Bronzeback. I think I might have been better off just running a couple of them into the middle of the field to try to just tie up that Drake. But if I do that, it might telegraph my concern to Pokey. I think he's going to probably see it, but I don't want to give him any help in seeing it. That Haley's in a really vulnerable spot with only one focus sitting on her to that Drake. It's not likely that it'll end the game. It's possible, but it's not likely that he can kill it with one shot from a Drake. Like I said, defense 16, rat 5, I believe. He needs an 11 to hit her, and she's going to be armor 15 with that one focus, so he needs a 15, 16, or he's dice minus 1, so he needs a 16 or 17 or an 18 to kill her. So that's what? It's like 7 and what, 216 or so to hit her or to kill her. It's not very much, but I think he'll probably take it if I give it to him, and I just did. So there's the murder ponies. They did their job. Half the beast handlers are dead. It's not, the beast handlers don't really, he doesn't even really need enrage against my army, but it slows down the fury manipulation. Here we go. See what he can do.
Without the ability to run or charge, and the murder ponies coming around my side, taking out all my support models, it's looking kind of bleak. The most I can hope for is potentially getting Molik Karn into the line of gun mages, and hopefully he can survive a round of shooting and not die to the Jack that's sitting back there. The Bronzeback, he's pretty much just going to try to move forward and hopefully not die too terribly bad. So I activate the Savage first. He just advances, getting myself into the zone. Don't want to lose to Cygnar right away. So when the Bronzeback activates, he trundles forward to swing on the one murder pony that was in the way. Boosting it to hit, because I knew if I could hit it, I could kill it. POW 17 versus their low arm pretty much means that I'm going to hit it. But their defense is kind of high. I think it was a 15 or something. So now I activate the Drake, because he also getting into the zone. He does have a range 8 spray, And I'm just going to see if I can whittle down some of his troops before the Drake falls. I managed to hit one of the Storm guys, Aiyana, the secondary Storm guy, and his caster. So the Storm guys, be nice to hit. I'm not really, that worried about it. But I go and I boost on Aiyana because I need her to die, because with the kiss of whatever it is, she just needs to die. But I miss her. I hit the other guy, so I rolled a hit on his caster. I boosted to hit. Figure, might as well try to do as much damage as possible before I get hurt. And POW 14, he was only sitting on one focus. And I rolled high enough to kill him with the spray. Quite lucky for me.